Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wild Woman podcast. This is a place where I love to have conversations with a variety of women from all over the world, lots of different backgrounds, sharing their story of getting onto their path, living their truth, living up to their potential, and sharing that with the world. And today I'm really excited to have an international guest, beautiful lady, Deb Drummond from Vancouver in Canada. And Deb is a top performance coach. And she also is set up the 262 movement, which she's going to tell us about on the podcast. So delighted to be chatting to you, Deb, and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I know we say it's an honor to be on, but it really is. It really is when you connect with somebody and you want to be able to share, you're so impressed upon about what they do. I felt the same way when I met you. You want to share their story and what it is that they're doing because it's important and people will receive benefit from it. So it's always such an honor to be asked to share.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I'm really grateful. And I'm so grateful. I've said that I've just been meeting the most amazing women. And it's like the women who are showing up are the women, who I'm meant to learn from as well. And I get the opportunity to share their stories and experience with the broader audience of listeners from all over the world. So I just want to start and just take you back, maybe it just gives a little bit of your backstory. Were there particular, I think this is interesting to a lot of people, like were there particular moments in your life that you say or turning points that sort of got you onto this path? Because you're a very successful entrepreneur. So could you talk a little bit about that and maybe some key moments that shaped you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. I will proceed this with that. I'm heading into my 32nd year of entrepreneurship, and have created 7 companies. And I say that because when I tell you what was the turning point, it's really difficult to go. That was the turning point, and who knew what was coming? And I say 32 years and 7 years because there's many obstacles that falls in your lap in that kind of entrepreneurial lifetime. But Celine, I think, as you know, I come from the music industry and it was a big part of my life. And it is still to this day a big part of my life. I love music. But I was at a place in my younger years where it was a pretty interesting lifestyle. And I wouldn't say that it was one that was probably going to serve me, but I didn't necessarily know. I didn't know that. And it was one fine evening, we get home very late because, of course, the club closes and then you go for dinner with the band, just like you would go for dinner after work. And so you're getting home somewhere around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I literally went into the bathroom to take off my makeup. And I don't know if this was a 3-minute experience, a 30-second minute experience, and it felt like 3 hours. But I can tell you to this day, and it's been many years, I can still feel the sheer fear that ran through my body when I took my makeup off and looked in the mirror and the mirror went black. I mean, pitch black. I mean, I couldn't see myself. I could see myself, not see myself. And I don't know what it was. All I heard was, "You're done." And I called the club the next day and I'm like, "I'm not coming back." And they're like, "Are you sick?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "What are you doing?" Now, I am not the person. I actually am the person that says, you don't need to sign a contract if your word is good enough. I raised my kids like that. I would never have left a job without notice. I would never have not. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know." They're like, "What are you going to do for money?" I'm like, "I don't know." They're like, I'm like, "I don't know. All I know is that I'm not coming back." That was a spin in my life that made me look at my life. That started a personal growth journey that I never would have signed up for that course. And I started to uncover all sorts of things that I was doing and thinking and who my associations were and, my childhood stuff and all that inner work stuff that, oh my gosh, I didn't know if you sign up for a counselor for, you think it's going to be for 3 months and 3 years later. But, it embarked me upon a journey of personal development that led me to my first career in holistic medicine, that led me to creating 2 holistic medicine companies, that led me to, distributing products and traveling around the world, and led me up to what it is I do today.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, right.
That is, wow, because I could identify in terms of not exactly that. It was something more dramatic for me. Well, in a different way, it was
Mhm.
cancer. And can you, in that moment, Deb, like, had you been feeling dissatisfied or a little bit empty before that? Or was there anything that would have sort of,
Oh, sure. I mean, I was having the time of my life in a dysfunctional way.
mm,
I was in the music industry, and we're talking 30 years ago. So it's not like, we all finished work and, you know, went and meditated. Like, it was just a very different lifestyle.
mm,
And
mm,
it was showing itself, right? Like, I mean, it was a
yeah,
little bit of a misfit, not to negate that incredible. I mean, I love listening to music all night, but it wasn't going to take me to that place. And what I think I was noticing was, um, it wasn't a dysfunctional family, but man, we were super tight, and it was really a family. Like, that industry was a real family. And I think, like any industry or any community or any corporation or anything, there's functional and dysfunctional. But I think
mm,
the dysfunctional was probably a little higher up, right? It's a different world.
yeah,
Um, sure, I had my own personal indication, but I
yeah,
was in my 20s.
mm,
I didn't have the wisdom.
yeah.
I had the inkling. I had some, I didn't even know what gut feelings were. I knew senses and things like that, but like, I wasn't wise yet. Life hadn't gotten a hold of me yet. So it was shocking to me. Shocking.
But I mean,
Scary.
yes, but it sounds like you said yes, like in that moment, and
Yeah.
for someone very young, someone might have went, "Oh, I'm a bit crazy. I'll just go back to my life." But something obviously in you greater
Mm.
said, "No, no, we're going to do this." Can you
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about with that, okay, here you are today. What were the
Yeah.
some of the key moments and things that just for the audience listening that might really help them if someone's feeling really stuck or maybe yeah, I'm
Mhm.
listening to this and I'm feeling there has to be more. So what would
Yeah.
you say to someone like that?
So, I mean, that personal journey has led me to where I am today. So, like I said, it's 30 years. And I think that I went from that world into the world of personal development,
Mhm.
and that was scary. It was totally scary. None of my friends in my 20s were getting counselors. None of my friends in my 20s were going to taking classes on inner self. Like, what was there, maybe one in my city? I mean, we're talking 30 years ago. So the way that I really got involved in the world of holistic medicine was because I had an allergy to wheat and dairy and sugar, and there was only one place in the whole city that made a muffin that I could eat. So I drove 45 minutes to get it, and I saw a flyer, and that flyer led me to a class, and that class taught me massage. And then from meeting them, I met my Ayurvedic gurus, and then from then I started to learn about formulation. So I would say that for me, wherever someone is at, in their personal life or their business life, there tends to be, we've talked about this before, there tends to be some voices. They might be really quiet, right? I mean, I was scared, and I was searching. I didn't leave that industry that I loved that wasn't serving me. That's tough. I loved it, but it wasn't serving me. I didn't leave it with a plan. And I think that we try to have plans, particularly as I've, gotten wiser in my days, right? It's like we're always like, oh, we need to have a plan before we leave here. And I think that was a real prime example of not really having a plan, and not that place of not knowingness. And it was totally scary, and it was financially confusing. And I had to lean into some friends, and I remember having to even stay at my friends' parents' house, in their basement suite. They're like,
Mm,
yeah, okay, come on over here and hang out and get yourself together. I was on my way when that happened, through time and study, and I decided to do personal work. And a year or two later, I was on my way to go get a degree in women's studies and religious studies, and go, work with women around the world in creating economic platforms. And then I had one of the most wonderful surprises in my life. I got pregnant with my daughter, who is now 30 and has two babies of her own. And so that changed the trajectory. You can imagine, I'll go through this process. Then I decide this is what I'm going to do. I call my mother, because at that point I'm living in a different part of Canada. I'm like, please sign me up for this course. And then all of a sudden I get pregnant, and I can't do this 4-year course. But I was pregnant, and I was hungry, and I wanted a muffin enough to drive 45 minutes away. And I drove 45 minutes away, and there was a damn flyer, and it gleamed at me. And so I guess what I would say through all of my life, And people like, I know that, I've had some success in my life in relationship to business and otherwise. I have always been and believe truly in working alongside somebody that knows more than I do, which is why I became a top performance coach. And the reason why I focused on the idea of top performance is because for the most part, what everyone is doing is the right thing. It's just how to do the right thing. And so I found ways through studying top performance throughout all these years of multiple businesses and multiple experiences, that most people are doing the right thing. It's just you can shorten your time frame and accelerate your success and usually the return if you just do what you're doing a little differently. And I had to learn all of that. And I learned that by obviously studying it, but I also learned it by, I don't think I've ever in my 30-year career as an entrepreneur, maybe with the exception of when I was having my babies, not been under the advice of a coach, a trainer, a counselor, a therapist. I mean, I think every great successful person should, and if not, should, stay in check, with a good, someone who knows who you are, who you come from, how you think. You got to work through your codependency. It shows up everywhere, not just, your relationships, whatever it is, right? So I think particularly if you become, if you're becoming self-fueled, if you're an entrepreneur or reliant, or you have to work with other people. So I've always had, my advice would be, I don't say this because I am a coach and trainer. I say this because I've always had coach and trainers.
Yes.
To have someone to walk alongside you that you can privately share your most innermost with, and know that you're still safe and loved and can go do what you need to do in the world.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing advice. It really is. And can I just what it sounds like as well, you talk about, that voice, and you were saying, as you were going on that path, would you describe that as, that intuitive voice? Has that played a big role in your life and the decisions you made? Because, going into the unknown, there's an aspect of saying, no, do this, this, this. How would you sort of, because I think that's often a big challenge for people. I went from living a very mental sort of, if I do this, this will happen. I lived very much up here, and it took a lot of my experience to bring me down into my body and into my heart and my intuition. And really, that has been my driving force. Was that a big part? Can you consciously say even that was going on, in terms of the direction you went in?
Yeah, sure. I think it's always going on. I think it's whether you know enough to be able to listen, one, two,
Yeah.
brave enough to act. And I went into holistic studies. You know what I mean? I was always very intuitive. I had an experience when I was 8 years old that I had no one I could talk to about, really having a sense of spiritual ability. And I happened to go into holistic medicine, which allowed me to go and open the doors of holistic and personal development. And I lived and still do a very spiritual life. People call me, if they're like, if you were to say, what's Deb's nickname? They're like, oh, she's a professional hippie. Right. I talk about this big event that we're doing for women right now, and all the women on the inside, we're like, we're soulpreneur sisters. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I live. But yeah, my holistic practice, when I went into holistic studies, I went into holistic practice. And when I shifted from working individually with someone, which I still will, if it's a God job, someone finds my websites out there. I used to do very strong intuitive work and very, healing work. And we had 18 staff. Every staff member I had, we were all intuitives. So that's a pretty cool place to work. And when I shifted from that, I went more out into speaking and teaching and doing what I do now, working in different industries. Even those of us that are intuitives, even those of us that are tuned in, can talk ourselves out of it. Right? I just, we're like, yeah, I know, I meditate, I this, I that. And then we also get caught up in culture. We also get caught up in, oh my gosh, she's kicking, her business out on TikTok. Maybe I should go in that direction. And your gut's like, oh, I don't think so. Yeah, but she is. We're all human, right? We're all human. And we listen to I think all of us, no matter how grand we are, listen to the voice, when we're faced with it sometimes, kind of like how you wrote about in your book, right? So, yes, of course, I think that that voice became a big part of my life. And I've raised my children that way, to listen to their guts and to embrace your spiritual ability, because some of it's shown early in life and some not. They both had it show early in life. But again, honor the humanness as well and forgive ourselves. And
yeah, I know. And it's a blend. Because I noticed on your website, you talk about spirit meets science. And I sort of liked that. And is that where you sort of bring in the top performance work that you do? Could you talk about, I know you said a lot of people, most people are doing, a lot of the right things, and a lot of women, but they're doing them in the wrong way. So can you give one or two examples there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm probably talking, I mean, you got to think most of the people that I coach are people that are entrepreneurs. And so when I say they're doing the right thing in the wrong way, I'm not talking to moms out there, because you guys are doing everything right. Okay. How about that? All parents are doing everything right. We're all doing the best we can. But when someone comes to me, they tend to be frustrated. They're like, I'm doing everything I've seen. I've taken the courses. I've watched the videos. I've gone to the master classes. I've listened to my coach. Like whatever it is, right? Like, sometimes in businesses, they have like leaders, or even employees have managers and that kind of thing. And they're like, I'm doing all this stuff, and I know I'm worth more than this. I know I'm working too hard. I think I'm going to bed too exhausted. There's something that's not equating with their knowingness, right? And they're like, damn, I need to be making what I'm making a year. I need to be making it in a month. And when I say to them, that's absolutely possible. And look, I come from a place where I was raised in a house where I got my cousins' hand-me-downs. All the kids had to share one room. We had wieners and beans with no wieners. Look, I know what it's like to not have. I know what it's like to have. I know what it's like to not have. I know what it's like to be married. Not like, there's things in life, right? I always say, sometimes we eat rice and peas and sometimes we eat steak and lobster. Okay, sure, fine. But my role is to help someone live the life that they want, guilt-free. For some women, that's 6 figures a year. For some women, it's 6 figures a month. It's not me to decide what someone's gift is. But when they come up to me, I go through with them, what is it that you are doing? And then we kind of take it apart like a Rubik's Cube. I always say that I have the heart of a holistic person, but my brain works like a Rubik's Cube. And I can just see things like strategic plans and reverse engineering and stats and all those things that people don't like. I love them. So I'm like, let me do that with you and for you. It's so relieving for women to have someone go, would you like to know the exact plan to where you want to go in 5 years? Because they can tell me where they want to be in 5 years. I'm like, can you tell me where you want to be in a year? Like, how much do you want to make in a year and how much time do you want off in a year and all that stuff? And they can tell me. And then I go, okay, so let's do a reverse engineer plan. And then they're like, I don't want to. That doesn't sound like fun. I'm like, what if I do it for you? They're like, okay, what if you just keep telling me your vision and I lay the plan out? And then I ask you, what is it that you're doing for your marketing? And then they tell me, and I go, what if we do it this way? What if we change the words? You'll love this. You're an accomplished author. So Celine, imagine, here's a great story that shows exactly how I help people. There was an amazing male author. I won't say his name because it's not fair. And he had 10 New York bestsellers. And if you don't know what it takes to be a New York bestseller, Google it. Pretty tough. And so, of course, he gets his money ahead of time now, right? They're like, write the next book. And he wrote the next book. And that book flopped. I mean, nothing. I mean, crickets. It didn't sell. And so, of course, they said to him, you need to rewrite. Go rewrite. He's like, absolutely. He took his book, didn't change one word, not one word. But what he did do is went and changed the cover of the book. And he then became an 11 New York bestseller. So he was doing the right activity, but we needed to change something. And so I take, so a woman's like, this is my marketing plan. This is my reach out. This is what I say. And I will literally role play with that woman to that when she introduces herself on a networking event or wherever she is, that she has 9 people asking for her business card, not 3. And so we tweak and we work and we talk performance, meaning that we facilitate the areas. We kind of get in there with a fine tooth comb, and nobody wants to do that by themselves. It's not that much fun. And also someone who's, I've had that experience of being, number 1 in 10 countries and in acquisition in certain areas and certain industries. And so I can say it with conviction, right? That this is kind of how we do it. And I think that's part of, my universe's plan for me is I needed to, I mean, goodness, I used to think gosh, I should have just went and got an MBA, but I've had 30 years of MBA. And so I can just work with people, and then it's better and it's easier and it's more fun because, oh my gosh, I work with, like I said, a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of times I don't care what you say. It's not fun when you don't make money. It's not fun when you don't have success. It's not fun when you have to work 10 times harder because something didn't work out. So if we can nip that in the bud, then it's just more joy. And really, isn't that what life's about? Just having more joy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you can blend. I've noticed that myself, coming from sort of, yes, a bit had a marketing background, but then I would describe myself as definitely much more holistic now, and that it's okay to do both, because you often see people who are very much in that field who find it very difficult, or often that, oh, money and talking about that is,
Yeah.
oh no. But how I see it now is the more that you can serve and share your gifts, the better, in whatever way that matters to you. But what facilitates, it's really understanding, isn't it, as well, how you want to use that, like, because there's a whole exchange as well. It's not just for the sake of it. But what I really like as well is, Deb, you talk about like just the, really getting into the nitty gritty, because often we have people, as you said, some people are great at big picture, but I just have the image of someone. I had this image before of when I was in a difficult place, someone holding my hand and sort of taking me along and teaching me, and the same, so that eventually, how I learn, I can do the same. So, I mean, I think that's just an amazing, really amazing. And that sort of takes me to, maybe you can talk a little bit before we sort of finish up, your show up, stand up, speak up movement, because that sounds like another aspect of that as well, how you're helping women really step into their voice, power.
This is a divine project. No one sits around thinking about this one, but it really, I know we don't have enough time to go into the whole story of it, but I will tell you that I'm well into my 50s, and the first message that I had to do the book part of this, I was 31. So I know there's people out there. So I mean, I made this claim that I was going to do this amazing book for women one day with this black and white photography of this print, or this planner that I was working from when I was 31. Okay. This planner went out of print. There was no Google. It was done. And I said, I'm going to do one of those one day. Now, I know that there's people out there that say, if you put things on your list and you don't do it within 6 months, take it off your list. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people that if you have a list, if it gives you anxiety to have it on your list for 20 years, then don't. Just put it on another piece of paper, or put a picture of it on a treasure map and have it on your boards or whatever. But if it's something that you really want to do, it's okay to keep it there. There's some things that can let be gone. So anyways, that's happened when I was 31. Who knew I would end up owning a media company, and that media company was to platform. And so I was doing publications and publications and publications. And so through a message of hearing "it's time" screamed so loud in my ear when I was going for a walk one day that it made me jump, I called my publicist and said, it's time to do this woman's book I've been yakking about. We all have things we've been yakking about. So it was time for me to put it to test. And she's like, great. Now, we had just finished doing a book for 22 women. And, I got to say, we were running on a pretty good high. It was #1 in Amazon for 4 weeks, 140 million impressions in media. We were like, everybody was really happy, joy. That's what I was talking about. So it was a great time to go like, let's do this book. And she's like, how many women do you want in it? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll pray tonight and let you know tomorrow. After 3 days of getting 262 as the number that came to me in my meditations, and I was like, no. And it was yes the next day and no. I finally agreed, called my publicist and said 262. So this project started with us creating a book, 262 women, entrepreneurs, creatives, entrepreneurs, and media, rock, legacy, and tell all. A beautiful full cover spread. I said, in my 30 years, I want to do the most for women that I've ever platformed. So we formulated the book for it to be that book to open every single door that you'd want to open. Great. We were going on with that, and people were coming in, and we've had incredible women and celebrities and people doing just the most amazing things. Then I'm sitting on my couch office very late at night, and a movie gets sent to me. And if you understand energy, you know exactly what I just said. And I was not in the mood to watch it, but I heard the words, we've sent it 3 times, watch the damn movie. So Celine, I watched the damn movie. And it was the life story of Gloria Allred, one of the most powerful women for women's rights in North America. And her global imprint is incredible. And so I said, okay, sister, if you can do that, I can do more. And that's where we created the Stand Up, Speak Up, and Show. Stand Up, Speak Up, and Show Up. Yes, you summit, 22 summits alongside this incredible book and merge them together. So behind the curtain, there's about 450 women that are speaking, sharing, and writing about the power and solidarity of being a woman. And it is about celebrating International Women's Day. International Women's Day has become a day where we don't necessarily all come together. We don't all feel a sense of worth that day. We don't take time out for ourselves that day. It's kind of getting a little Facebook posty, if you know what I mean. And so I had a clear message that I needed to have women remember International Women's Day the way a mom does Mother's Day. I was like, okay, come on, like that's not a small feat, but here we are. We are 8 summits, just about to embark on our 9th summit out of 22. It is a free global event for women and those that support women, because we need to spread the word, to come and watch and listen, be inspired, be motivated, be activated, right? You know, be activated. And it's free to attend. And we've had thousands of women attend, and we're only heading into our 9th summit out of 22. And it's going to be on, Amazon TV and Apple TV. It'll have a viewership of 350 million. And so this whole project has taken 2 years, will take 2 years out of my life. It's been divinely guided. It's been in itself an interesting journey. I mean, these things aren't all roses and unicorns, but they certainly end up that way, as you know, I know you believe in that. And we have space. We have space for women who want to be in the book, still available. We don't have lots of speaking space left. We have a bit, but as we speak right now, we do. And so the reason why I added yes, you onto the back of Stand Up, Speak Up, and Show Up is because women are famous for this. Oh, I'd love to be part of the project, but I'm not put in the word. I haven't been in my business long enough. I've never spoke before. Oh my gosh, there's a celebrity in. How could I be in? I'm not. So enough of that. Yes, you. We provide, and then there's what I call the mavens and crones, women that have been doing their business, their life, their project for, decades. And they're like, that's for the new ones coming up. Or, oh my gosh, I've got nothing left to say. And I'm like, you get your butt back on that stage and you share with women what you know, because we all need it. And I believe that this is the first time that our generations are coming together and being able to teach each other. Yes, we have in a world of you earn your wings, and you and I both know that wing earning, there's nothing like it. But there is the new wave and generation of these incredible women coming in with skills that mavens and crones don't have. A lot of it's around the handshaking of technology. I'm like, handshaking, which used to mean more than a contract, that's important, but also how can we get our words and our messages out? So I believe we're in a time that is unique, and like you say, it is time for all of us to be bright and shine our light. So this is the platform that we've created for that.
Fantastic. So for any women listening who this really excites them and they go, yeah, I'd love to be involved or find out more, where should they go, Deb? I'll include it in the notes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super easy. I'm Deb at debdrummond.com. Go to debdrummond.com, and in the events, you'll see some things about the events coming up, but you can go onto the contact page. And of course, I know you'll have things in the show notes.
Yeah, perfect.
And I always tell people I'm on WhatsApp. I'm very active on WhatsApp. I
was going to just finish up on a question as well. This podcast is called Wild Woman, and it came from the book For Me, Women Who Run with the Wolves, that really touched me. And I think, like you said, I think we're in a very special time in the planet. In a different way, I sort of look at it as the feminine sort of rising. We're coming back into balance as a whole. And I'm finding that connections with older women, with younger women, we've all so much to share and learn with each other, and we need to sort of keep that wisdom going in a new way. So that's really exciting. Can I ask you, how do you understand Wild Woman?
That's a beautiful question. Probably the words that come to me are bravery, courage, almost like sometimes you're the only one that believes in yourself. I remember when I first created the first aromatherapy home party company, and a very dear friend of mine, like someone I just had the most, in the same industry, said to me, I don't think the world's ready for that. And, the words inside, let me tell you, I think I built my first 10 years of a success just because I was pissed off. But I think sometimes you're going to have to do things that you're the only person that knows. Like it's a drive inside you. I think that's what makes women wild, even in confinement. Do you know what I mean? Being wild, even in confinement, means believing in yourself in a way that gives you enough courage to be the only person that believes that. You can start the movement, you know. You don't have to join the movement. You can start it. And you can be in your own. I know what it was like. There wasn't even a women's networking group, Celine, in all of my province. And so people were coming to my house Sunday at 2 with their kids, and we were women and we didn't even know what we were doing. Like you can be that person. And I think the other thing is the transparency. What is going to save us is being transparent. What is going to save us is what you do when you share and you say, I crashed. You know, I didn't know what. I was driving on fumes. I was living a lie, but we didn't have people, and I'll just say it, in our generation that allowed transparency. I was raised with, you had to keep it together. You had to keep it together for the family. You had to keep it together for the kids. And God forbid, I remember the first time I saw my mom crying like profusely, you know, I caught her in her bedroom sometime and my world crashed because I didn't even know she cried. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh my gosh, the world's crashing. I think it's important to be transparent and to raise transparency as a skill, not as something that's, you know, ooh, like it's a skill to be transparent and being honest with our kids and teaching them that it's okay to be transparent. I think that's important because if not, we stay hidden within the confines of our mind. And I think that's wild. I think it's wild to be transparent and not be scared that someone's not going to do business with you if you're on a podcast talking about burnout, or do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's wild women, just being super real, even within the confines of our own self.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's a great place to finish. So any women listening, you know, I love that. You don't have to join the movement, just start it. And if there's something that I'm sure has inspired you from listening to Deb, just get up and start. I really believe too that we're at a time on earth where we really need everyone, and we're facing into something new. I think we all know we're living in sort of pretty chaotic times, but it's up to us what we want to create next. And I think we're like the bridges into something very new. So yeah, let's maybe take that step and be the first. So thank you so much, Deb. Do you want to just mention again where people?
Yeah, absolutely. Please, please reach out.
Yeah,
please reach out. Deb@debdrummond.com. There is a Facebook being created as we speak, which is public. So you may not be able to go on it for a week or two, but it is Mission Accepted Media 262. And it is the public group for all of the summit information, all of the people that are speaking in the summits, all of the authors, all the people that you want to connect with and be with. And you can be a wild woman on there. You can be part of this incredible community. And again, it's for women and those that support women. And we will even allow for those of you that are, you know, doing business in practice, there's something that you're sharing, nonprofit, profit. We'll have one day a week where you can just share and let the world know who you are and what it is you're doing. So that's being built right now. In the meanwhile, just stay in touch with me and we'll get you on a list that we will let you know when that gets released.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, Deb. And thank you everybody for watching.
Okay, thanks, my friend.
Take care.